Betmaker Show. This is the horse racing picks preview for stake races, including the Stephen Foster that run at Churchill Downs on Saturday, June 27th, 2020. And now, live from Las Vegas, the host of the Betmaker Show, Brian Blessing.
All right, folks, looking forward to a big weekend of racing. Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. Glad to be with you, and we're looking for some cool stuff all around North America with the ponies this weekend. But we're actually going to focus on Churchill Downs. By the way, they announced at Churchill Downs they're going to have fans at the Kentucky Derby. Not as many as normal, but they will not be competing for the big race without fans there. So that's a good sign. Some of the rare good news we get, and we'll see how that all pans out. But Churchill Downs really grabs a large focus of attention this weekend, and it's the last four races on the card that are interesting, and they're all four stakes races. We have two Grade 3s and two Grade 2s, and I think an opportunity to play the pick four, which could pay, peanuts, but I think with an upset or two, you might get an overlaid price on what you really should get. So to dive into that, we start with race 8. A 2-year-old 6-furlong dash. This is a $100,000 stake event. It's a Grade 3 race. And literally, you're looking at a field of 7. And I don't know that I've ever seen this before. All 7 runners in here have one career race, and all 7 of them won their maiden debut and then immediately come running here. So I think we're looking at, the fastest 2-year-olds that are out there, but one race to the next. This one could be, throwing dart material. Now, you would look at it from a buyer figure perspective and say, Catazero, the 6, is a stick out, an 81 buyer with a win over Churchill Downs. This one is a son of street sense. Well, went off at 5-1 and won that race emphatically. Now, some of these other horses don't have buyer figures, but the second highest buyer figure posted is the number 5 Herd Immunity at 9-2, and the buyer figure there's 49. So you're sitting there going, well, this Catazero just towers over the rest of the field. I don't think that's the case at all here, because a lot of these little dashes, we get some cool angles. You get a turf to dirt with the number 7 County Final, a son of Oxbow, and then goes turf to dirt. There's a little angle you could take a look at there. And I think the 4 Hyper Focus for Todd Pletcher you could take a look at. Won a 4.5 furlong race after breaking a step slow. And now to be able to overcome a bad break in a 4.5 furlong race is ultra impressive. And they say this would be the one horse really shows up the willingness, has already shown you the willingness to pass horses. So hyper focus the 4, and then you get Velasquez and Pletcher, a better break. And who knows what this one could do. But the crazy thing is, and Asmussen has 2 in here. He's got another horse, Lannery's aboard the 2 Hulan, who was an odds-on favorite and won with a nice stalking trip. And it could be the longer-priced horse for Asmussen in this race. The one that I think is real sneaky, and if you want to say it's lower-profile connections, I think you've got the 3 Gatsby that won at Gulfstream Park, and those 4.5 furlong dashes are quite good. And I think you could take a peek at this one. And by the way, the opening fractions in the race Gatsby comes out of, they went 21-2, which is far faster than these other horses ran. And this one was like a couple lanes off the pace at first call, and then, but basically was right there. So I've got a funny feeling the 3, Gatsby, gets the lead in this race with a clean break. And this one was steadied early, too, and overcame that. And then the other thing, you look at the third place runner in that race that Gatsby came out of, returned and won his race. So maybe that's a key race. I think this is a wide open race. I think the 3 Gatsby is the sneaky horse here that with a clean break gets the lead and may not stop. But I think, you may even, in terms of playing the pick 4, I wouldn't discourage anybody for hitting the all button here, and hope you beat the 6 Catazero. And I think absolutely that can happen. But I kind of like the 3 in that race. And that price may go up again with these Gulfstream Park connections and Gaff Leone's aboard. I can see that number floating up a little bit. Might get a little bit of an overlaid price there. But then let's go to the 9th race. And I'm not going to go too deep here because the Fleur de Lis, this 1.8 mile race, grade 2 event, and you're looking at the best, fillies and mares in North America, and you don't have to go much further than Midnight Bisou. Mike Smith is in for the ride, has been aboard basically throughout the lion's share of her career, and she's something special for trainer Steve Asmussen. But here's the thing. This horse she's 3-5, the mare. She's 3-5. And if you look, big buyer figures, great running style, runs and wins emphatically, but has 2 career races here at Churchill Downs. And it's funny, finished 3rd in both of those races. So all she does is win, but all she does when she comes to Churchill is spit the bit a little bit. And on top of that, her last race, it was at the end of February, so they've given her a freshening, and the workouts are terrific. But she was over in the Saudi Cup. And I'm telling you, horses that come back from, from Dubai, from Saudi Arabia, sometimes there's just something not right with them, and it takes them a while to regroup and recover. So there could be some chinks in the armor here for Midnight Bisou. The one that it's like it's not every blue moon, it's almost like every other race. But when she shows up, she's a monster. And, of course, I played against her in the Kentucky Oaks, and that was the day she decided to show up. Serengeti Empress, second choice at 2-1 for Tom Amoss. She can get to the front here and just keep on going. So I honestly think Midnight Bisou is a little vulnerable with that first race, back in North America. And that can be – it just can be an odd race. And maybe something crazy could happen here. And trying to search for anything other than Midnight Bisou and Serengeti Empress, I think it's a pretty big leap of faith. The only thing I'd say, maybe you could look for the best closer, and that's the thing, is that basically is Midnight Bisou, and Serengeti Empress is the best speed in the race. Somebody sneaky in between. I'm searching and searching, trying to find you something, and just don't see it. I want to say you could go a little deeper there, but I think it's a 2-horse race. But I do think Serengeti Empress could get the jump on Midnight Bisou and keep going.
Let's make some money tonight.
For outstanding information and special offerings and promotions, we invite you and encourage you to sign up for our newsletter today simply by going to the website at betmaker.com. So moving on from that, if you went all in that 8th race with 7 horses and just use these 2, hope Serengeti Empress gets loose on the lead and doesn't stop, it would bump the prices, maybe not substantially, but it would certainly have an impact on the prices. But now let's get to where things get interesting. That's the 10th race, and this is the big one. This is the Stephen Foster big race, $500,000 race. They do this every year at Churchill Downs, and there are just some talented older horses in here. Now the 5-horse is Tom's Day Tot, and Miguel Mena's aboard. He's one of my favorite jockeys. This horse is a monster. I'm just doing the math here. 2, 4, 6, last 7 races. And, by the way, was in this race last year, finished 3rd. But the last 7 races for trainer Al Stahl, buyer figures in excess of 100. That's just flat out picking them up and putting them down. But I do believe that he can be beat. And the one horse, I keep waiting, and maybe the time is now, being an older horse, for the really impressive stuff to kick in. And this is the 8-horse, Owendale. Florent Giroux is aboard for trainer Brad Cox, who's winning at a great race all over the country. And what I love about this, on May 23rd, this one ran in a $100,000 in-house stake race, rallied up and won by a half length. and beat Silver Dust, who is in this race. But who thumbs their nose at a $100,000 race? But I would say to you, they use that race as a prep. I mean, that was like a glorified workout for this one coming off the shelf. Put a 99 buyer figure up. Has yet to get over 100. But I think this, as an older runner now, only the second race in his 4-year-old campaign. I think Owendale is a horse that could explode. And a win here certainly could vault this one into Breeders' Cup contention down the road. I think Owendale is very interesting. That would be my top pick from off the pace in this race. But the other one I got to take a look at, and you don't know how the track is going to play. You know, Mike Smith is in here from California, and I think part and parcel, that's going to be one of the reasons, he's here and has a chance to make a lot of money on this day, and we've already talked about Mike Smith already. But I think Pirates Punch at 15-1 is capable of going to the front, and if they let this one slow it down, as crafty as Mike Smith is, I think 15-1's an overlay on Pirates Punch. I think this one could conceivably really hang in here for the long haul. Now, at 10-1, you get the 4-horse multiplier. Peter Miller, a California-based trainer, has been running all across North America because of the shutdown, moved a lot of his horses out. This one just missed by a nose last race at Santa Anita. They shipped this one in. But noticeably absent for me, and this is what we say when you're playing horses, is you got to go between the lines, is Flavian Pratt was aboard this guy last race, just missed by a nose. Pratt didn't come in here with this horse. Now, Pratt's winning, 2, 3, 4 a day out in Santa Anita. If you're sitting on a live runner to win the premier race of the day on the continent, but you decide to stay home, it's telling you, watch out for Flavian Pratt on the West Coast, that he's got live mounts there. Yeah, he could have said, look, with the COVID thing, I don't want to travel. It could be as simple as that. But I think he's sitting there saying, look, I know I'm going to make good money, really good money all day long, all weekend long at Santa Anita. I'm not going there. To me, Pratt's almost telling you multiplier's not good enough in this spot, and that could be a wrong assessment. It's a horse race. But the fact that Pratt didn't come tells me something. So I always look for those little things. Mike Smith showed up, and he's live in all these races from California. He showed up because he's here trying to print dough. Pratt's staying home to print dough in Santa Anita. So it's always that reading between the lines, and the jockeys agents can sometimes tell you. So in that race, if I exclude multiplier, but went with the 2, 5, and 8, you can't knock anything toward the Tots done. But I like Owendale a lot. But the sneaky price plays the number 2. So you go 3 horses deep there. Now you've gone all with 2 with 3. 7 times 2 is 14. Times 3, do the math. Divide 50 cents. The ticket isn't going to cost you very much. And I mean, I do like I think the 3 horse, I think is the sneaky horse in the first leg of the Big 4. You could even do something and single him and then work around it on the front end. The way I've chosen to play this is I'm going to wrap everything around the last race. And we did this in a previous podcast, and we sung the praise. I forget the horse. It was a few weeks back, and we were dead right. And this horse got steadied 3 different times, come roaring up and missed by a length. Should have won the race by 7 lengths. It's a horse race, right? But in this final race, the grade 3 Regret, 1 1/8 on the turf, and they're going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. It's one of my favorite angles. First-time horses in North America. Many times the bettors thumb their nose at it. They didn't in this instance. It was an allowance race. And I love a trainer like Graham Motion, who scored a big win for us earlier this year. I think the horse paid $54, and that was a European runner coming for the first time, and the preps were great. Well, Motion scored with the number 5, Crystal Cliffs, first race in North America. It was over this surface. So the horse, the filly, she's got 2 wins and 3 career starts, but the first race in North America puts up an 85 buyer, won the race, slightly drawn off. I mean, did it very, very professionally. And there's some very good horses in here. Anything can happen, but I think there's a lot more left in the tank. I'd be singling the 5, 3-1 morning line Crystal Cliffs in the final race with John Velasquez up for Grand Motion. And, sometimes they can regress, but I think also that first race in North America, they learn a lot, and I think there would be some marked improvement here. So I'd be singling Crystal Cliffs in the final race. But again, I think you can wrap it around. You're hoping for a price if you played all in race 8. 2-horse race with Midnight Bisou and Serengeti Empress. You go 3 deep heading into the final race in single Crystal Cliffs. It's a strategy. It's a way to play the late pick 4 at Churchill Downs, hoping for a couple of upset opportunities because the 2 in the middle portion with Midnight Bisou and Serengeti Empress, it's not going to help the price, and this one's going to be very highly thought of in the final leg. So you need the price plays on the front end. That's why sometimes you dissect what's the tougher race. Other than that, this thing pays $40-$50. You get the long shot in the first race or the third leg. You get a long shot. Then the thing can pay $300, $400, $500. So it should be a fun day. 4 stakes races in a row. Churchill Downs this weekend. Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. Wishing you the very best of luck at the races.
Betmaker, let's make some money tonight.
Well, that's the Betmaker Show for now. We publish multiple times each week. We'd like to thank you for listening, and if you liked what you heard, please take a moment to leave a rating and review, or subscribe to our show feed, or share our show with a friend or two and help us grow the show. We very much appreciate it. Visit us on the web at betmaker.com. And reminder to sign up for the newsletter. Thanks to our engineer, Darren Vandermolen, and producer, Mike Gallivan. The Betmaker Show is a production of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated. Betmaker is a registered trademark. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this content without the express written consent of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
The handicapping and sports odds information contained on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm the wagering regulations in your jurisdiction as they vary from state to state, province to province, and country to country. Using this information to contravene any law or statute is prohibited. The podcast is not associated with, nor is it endorsed by any professional or collegiate league, association, or team. This podcast does not target and is not intended for an audience under the age of 18. If you think that you have a gambling addiction, stop this podcast now and please seek help.
Gambling and betting on sports is a form of entertainment and should be about having a good time. But when done excessively, it may negatively affect other areas of a person's life, such as their physical and mental health, school or work performance, finances, and or interpersonal relationships. At betmaker.com and the Betmaker Show, we're concerned about the addiction that gambling may cause, and for this reason, we encourage everyone to practice responsible gambling, an approach to gambling that helps you ensure that it remains an enjoyable activity. Here are the main principles of responsible gambling. Don't think of gambling as a way to make money. Always gamble with money that you can afford to lose. Set limits and stick to them. Never chase losses. Don't gamble when you're depressed or upset, and create a healthy balance. Always be aware of how much time you spend gambling or thinking about gambling. And do not allow gambling to cause you to miss out on time with family and friends or time spent on other activities you enjoy. By following these guidelines, gambling can be a good time and great entertainment. If you feel at any time that your gambling is taking away from important areas of your life, is causing you stress or depression, or is leading to financial losses that are beyond your control, please reach out for help. Learn more at responsiblegambling.org.